This guy was the king of New York with Mike Francesa for a long time on WFAN. He's Chris Russo, still rolling on Mad Dog Sports Radio, SiriusXM. You can hear his show, Mad Dog Unleashed, every weekday afternoon at 3. And he's on the MLB Network show, High Heat, with Christopher Russo. And we say good morning to Mad Dog. Hello, Fal. How are you?
Hello, Danny boy. You know what I've been totally into lately? And I've watched it 9 million times. It's right up your alley. Have you seen that Laurel Canyon show on Epix, that two-part thing on the late 60s with music in Southern California? Have you watched that yet?
Yes, I have watched it. There's been a couple on that. There was a David Crosby has a bio on him as well about that whole region and all the music that was birthed there in Laurel Canyon. Man, it's been good. God,
I can't, Danny, I can't get enough of it. I'm a little too young. I was 10 years old with Woodstock. Eddie Coleman, my pal, was at Woodstock. Little too young, but boy, oh boy, I can't get enough of that with, the Byrds, CSN, of course, Morrison, Jackson Brown, who I love anyway. Oh, I can't get enough. I figured you'd be into that because that's right up your alley. So how are you?
I'm
Long
good.
time no chat. Things good?
Yeah. Your first concert, what was it?
First concert was the Outlaws. Loggins and Messina at Siena in 1970, probably 1975. That was my first one. First time I saw Bruce was at the Palace Theater in Albany, May of 1978. I was 18. And let's see, the first time I saw the Who at Shea, and I saw Rolling Stones 1,000 times, but I missed the big ones. And I didn't see Grateful Dead. I did not see CSN. I didn't see, obviously, Hendrix or The Doors. I missed some of those big ones, but at least I saw the Who and the Rolling Stones.
I don't know if you missed anything not seeing the Grateful Dead. Just go to a Fish concert, and that's basically the same feeling there, dog.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But there was a period there I used to love those concerts, and I kind of wish I was around in 1969 because I would have ventured to Bethel, New York, and I would have been part of that 500,000 throng there with Woodstock. Anyway,
where do you stand? Where did you stand on the Jordan documentary?
Oh, I loved it. I understand that he had final say and everything else. I loved it. I thought the Kerr one in episode 9 was superb with his father. I thought the Pistons stuff was great. I did a lot of shows based on that on the Monday with guests. I did Rod Thorne after the first one with and Lockery, his first coach. I did, that's 2. I did Tripucka. He wasn't on the Bad Boys, but he knows the players. I did that. I did Van Gundy with the Knicks, with the whole Knick thing. So I based a lot of my shows, and I know you did the same, on the Monday off the Jordan documentary. I had the director on. I know you did too. So I based a lot of it on that show, these shows that we have to do now without anything to talk about. And the Jordan documentary gave me a lot of content. And, you and I lived it. My kids loved it. My 18-year-old and my 20-year-old, who are huge basketball fans, didn't see Jordan play, couldn't get enough of it Sunday at 9 o'clock. So that tells you how good it was, in my eyes.
Would we allow that player to exist today on and off the court?
Probably not. As far as, being rough to his teammates and, sort of the, not saying anything with the racial injustice going on. It's a little different today. The game would be a little different too. He'd probably be better because, you wouldn't be able to bang him around so much, and you wouldn't be able to do some of the things Detroit did and the Knicks did. I did Bob Wenzel too. Here's a good story that you'll like, Danny, before we do the baseball. I had Wenzel on because he recruited him. He was at Duke with Bill Foster when Jordan was coming out of high school. And I asked Wenzel about it, and the first time he saw him at the 5-star camps, everything else. And Wenzel went to South Carolina after the Duke days in '80 with Foster, and he recruited Jordan. And I said, really? Well, tell me. He said, yeah, I got him to go to campus. His parents came to Columbia, and it's funny. We went to the governor's house, his mansion, and he had a basketball court. And all Jordan wanted to do as a 17-year-old was take the governor's kids out and play basketball on the basketball court on the governor's mansion. Listen, in my eyes, it's not even close. He's the best player of all time, in my eyes.
We're talking to Chris Mad Dog Russo, host of High Heat on MLB Network, and, of course, Mad Dog Radio, Sirius XM. We going to have baseball?
Yeah, I think we're going to have baseball, Dan. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a kumbaya moment necessarily, and I think that's what baseball needed was none of this mistrust with these negotiations right now, and come out and play July 4th with an 80-game season. I think that moment is past. I don't think we're going to have that. Obviously, you can't get ready for July 4th. These sides, there's a lot of mistrust here. I think they'll figure something out. But I think the moment where they can sort of bring back America sports-wise is past, which is unfortunate. I think somebody's going to have to be the big boy in the room. Somebody's going to have to realize that, you know what, for the good of the world, we're going to have to come out and play, even if we have a deal we don't like. And I think that person's going to have to be the commissioner. I don't think the players are going to budge off this, 100% scenario. I don't think the owners are going to sit there and be very happy about giving up, obviously with no fans, giving up, certain concessions as far as playing X amount of games without any fans. They're going to lose money. So it's going to be up to the commissioner to basically throw the bone to the players, allow them to get the full rated pay for the amount of games. And I think he's going to have to say, not 50 games, because people are not going to like that. But I think he's going to have to sit there and say, all right, we'll play a 65, 70 game schedule. We'll start July 10th, July 12th, and away we go. We'll pay them full rate. I think that is where we're on our way to as far as this negotiation is concerned.
Yeah, my concern is not this year as much as it is down the road. When you get this collective bargaining agreement, if I'm the players, and now all of a sudden you get this feeling of they want to control us with the salary cap, and you just start to hear things where, and baseball is not about, it's about the haves and the have-nots. I mean, we talk about Mike Trout and Bryce Harper. They make all this money. You know, the majority of your baseball union is making $1 million or less. And it feels like the owners are sort of catering to them to say, hey, we want you guys to get paid, but these big ticket items don't want to come back. Your thoughts on that?
I think that was the pay scale scenario, which I think didn't sit well with the players. I think your original point is 100% right. I think we got major problems after the 2021 season, and that the agreement's up in December of that year. And I'd be shocked if you're going to have a lot of baseball right away after 2021. I can see a long dispute. This is another reason why if Manfred throws them a bone here, gives them a win. Remember, they got beat badly in that last CBA, and everybody knows it. So if he gives them a win, maybe that soothes some, bitterness, and they get a little something done after 2021. But I do think you're 1,000% right. I think 2022 baseball, is going to have some issues. We're not there yet, obviously. I got to get through this season first. I do think you have a year. I don't think you're going to have fans. And I do think that they need to not jam these games down the throat. We're going to play 50 games. That's it. They can't say that. They got to make the players feel, at least have them buy in a bit. So that's why I think Manfred will be the guy who'll be the big guy in the room. Listen, I'm usually pro owner, and I am here too. But I'll say two things that bother me, and I'll use it from both sides. I don't want to hear from Bill DeWitt. I don't want to hear from Tom Ricketts, who's said some things. I don't want to hear the guy from Arizona who went on radio station saying, we don't have as much money as you think. I don't want to hear from them, because with the ticket refund policy, you got to go through page 58 to get your money back with the ticket refunds, which is a disgrace, Danny.
Yep.
I mean, we know you're not going to play games. Give the money back. And a lot of these teams are maneuvering, which I can't stand. So I don't want to hear from them. But I also don't want to hear from the players who, going to tell me on two things. Well, we are taking extraordinary risk by playing games. Well, if that's the case, well, then why was your proposals 114 games? They want more games. So you can't tell me it's a health risk if you want to play 114 games. And then I want to hear the players, Sean Doolittle, tell me, well, we're doing this for the future player who comes into the sport. That's why there's a line in the sand. They want to know who Kurt Flood was if they fell on him, for crying out loud. So I don't want to hear from the owners about, how broke they are. And I don't want to hear the players telling me that Norma Ray and Samuel Gompers. None of them care about the future player, and the owner doesn't care. Nobody, look at Atlanta, for instance. They got that beautiful ballpark. Have you been to that village around that ballpark in Atlanta?
Yes.
They got shops, restaurants, and I'm sure Liberty Media, and they own Sirius, so I got to be careful. But I'm sure Liberty Media's got some dibs on those businesses around the ballpark. Nobody wins. The bottom line, it's a mess. The whole thing's a mess.
Oh. when you first started out, when your people are saying, well, you got a voice that sounds like, I think it was George Vesey at the Times. It was a combination, Jerry Lewis, Archie Bunker, and Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
Now, this is in the New York Times that they're saying this. What did that do to you?
Letterman, too. If you ever seen that one appearance I did on Letterman, the first one, he spent 7 minutes making fun of my voice. Hey, look, honey, they gave Donald Duck a show. And that was his famous line. Yeah, you're right. That voice, has always, it served me well once you get used to it. But here's the key, Dan. You know this. You have to be able to make fun of yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, listen, make fun of me all you want. Just put the radio tuned in to all the stations I worked at all these years. That's the bottom line.
Do you remember your first show that you and Mike co-hosted?
Yeah. Oh, I did. Yeah, I remember the first show I ever did as a talk show. I was in Jacksonville in '83. And the boss's son worked with me on a Saturday morning. It was in March of '83, and he was a big wrestling fan. So that was a disaster. I'll be talking Ric Flair, who I had no idea who it was. The first show was with Mike was in Labor Day of '89, and Brandon Steiner of Steiner Sports brought over sweaters to, basically inaugurate the first Mike and the Mad Dog show. And all the FAN employees were in the studio watching Mike and I start on at the day after Labor Day. Remember, that was right after Bart Giamatti died. So, we had the Rose thing and we had Giamatti. So we had something, a terrible story, but we had a big topic right out of the gate. But that is where I remembered it was the day after Labor Day and it was 1989. It was a marriage, Dan. We had never done a show together. We didn't know each other that well. Franklin had screwed up his contract, the late Pete Franklin, and he left. And Mark Mason decided to throw Mike and me on together. And it was a different time. Were you doing Sports Center in '89, by the way, with Oberman?
I think I just got there. I'd left CNN. I didn't start with Keith until a few years in. So
because we used to have you on, you remember at the Super Bowl, you were always the first guest all week.
Or NBA Finals. I remember NBA Finals.
Finals.
I did
93, Phoenix.
Yeah.
We did the Chicago Phoenix. Oh, all the time. You were a big Mike and the Mad Dog fan, and you came on constantly.
Yeah.
I thought you were on right around the same time we were. So you started with Oberman a little later. Okay.
Well, I remember telling you that you were working weekends at the Fan. And yes, I was peeling off wallpaper in my house in West Hartford. And I was listening to Dog, and my wife goes, who is that, and how did he get that job? And I said, that's Mad Dog Russo. And she goes, that voice? And I said, yeah. I said, but it's different than other voices. But she
100%. The first guy I ever worked for was Gene Burns, who was a great talk show host who passed away. He worked at RKO in Boston, OR in New York, and he hired me at KIS in Orlando. So did Mike Geyer, who's passed away too. He was the GM, and Geyer put Bob Trumpy on here in Cincinnati after Trumpy retired. He gave him a sports talk show on LW in Cincinnati. So he knew sports talk stuff. And they said the same thing. Chris, listen, your voice is a problem, especially in Central Florida. You're a New Yorker. Yeah, it's going to take some getting used to. But, you got a goofy delivery. Screw up all the languages and all the words you want. just go on there and do a sports talk show, and we'll see what happens. It's funny. I went down to Orlando in '83 to do 2 shows on the weekend as sort of, audition shows because they were looking to hire a sports talk guy during the week. And the first day I went down there, they put me on Sunday night, 8 to 10. I did not get one call. So if you can do Sunday night in Orlando, Florida this would have been in 84, in 1984, without a call for 2 hours, and you can somehow get through the show, you can do sports talk. Bottom line, you can do sports talk.
Oh, it's good to talk to you, Dog.
You're the man, Danny. How you doing? Everything okay? I haven't seen you in a long time. Things good?
Everything's good. Everything's good. No complaints. I think I saw you at the All-Star game in D.C. was the last time I saw you.
Last time. And every time I see somebody struggle with these post-celebratory championships on the stage with all these players, whether it's football or basketball, I think of poor Dan Patrick. How many times you have to sit up there and try to do shows with everybody celebrating a championship? It wasn't easy.
Hey, we'll come visit you one of these days at Sirius.
Good boy, Danny. Thanks.
Thank you,
Always a
buddy.
pleasure, pal.
That's Mad Dog Russo. You can listen to him on the Mad Dog channel, SiriusXM, and also High Heat on MLB Network.